Chapter 32 Out of the Fire. Harry's urgency to save Sirius was met with skepticism from Ron and Hermione. They urged caution, suggesting they try to contact Sirius first to make sure he was really in danger. But how? Harry demanded, pacing the common room. Umbridge is watching all the fireplaces. The owls are being monitored. Suddenly, an idea struck him. Umbridge's office. It's the only fire that's not being watched. Despite Hermione's protests, they decided to create a diversion. Fred and George's scathing snack boxes provided the perfect solution. Soon, the corridor outside Umbridge's office was chaos, with students vomiting, fainting, and developing alarming nosebleeds. Taking advantage of the confusion, Harry slipped into Umbridge's office and threw some Floo powder into the fireplace, sticking his head into the green flames. He called out, "Number 12, Grimmauld Place!" His head spun sickeningly before settling into the kitchen of Sirius' house. To his dismay, the room was empty except for Kreacher, the house elf. "Where's Sirius?" Harry demanded. Kreacher's face split into a malevolent grin. "Master has gone out, Harry Potter." "Where's he gone? Where's he gone, Kreacher?" Kreacher merely cackled. "Master will not return from the Department of Mysteries." Before Harry could question further, he felt a painful yank, and found himself being pulled back into Umbridge's office. To his horror, he found himself face to face with Umbridge herself. Her toad-like face split in a triumphant smile. "Well, well, well," she said softly. "Who have you been communicating with, Mr. Potter?" Harry's heart sank as he saw Ron, Ginny, Neville, and Luna being held by members of the Inquisitorial Squad. Hermione was restrained by Millicent Bulstrode. "I was trying to speak to Professor Dumbledore," Harry lied. "Liar!" Umbridge shrieked. She grabbed Harry by the hair, forcing his head back. "You know where Dumbledore is, don't you? Tell me." "I don't know," Harry insisted. Umbridge's face contorted with rage. She glanced at the bottle of Veritaserum on her desk, now empty. "Very well," she said, her voice shaking. "You leave me no alternative, Potter. The Cruciatus curse ought to loosen your tongue." "No!" Hermione shrieked. "Professor Umbridge, it's illegal." But Umbridge was beyond reason. As she raised her wand, Hermione shouted, "Tell her, Harry!" "Tell me what?" Umbridge demanded. "Well, we were trying to contact Dumbledore to tell him." "It's ready," Hermione invented wildly. "What's ready?" Umbridge asked, her eyes gleaming with excitement. The weapon," Hermione said. Umbridge's face lit up with malicious delight. "Lead me to it," she ordered. As Hermione led Umbridge out of the office with Harry in tow, he marveled at his friend's quick thinking. But he also knew that time was running out. Somehow, they needed to escape and get to the Department of Mysteries before it was too late. Chapter 33 Fight and Flight. Hermione led Umbridge and Harry into the Forbidden Forest, her mind racing to come up with a plan. As they ventured deeper into the woods, the trees grew thicker and the light dimmer. "How much further?" Umbridge demanded, her voice shrill with impatience and a hint of fear. "Not far now," Hermione said, hoping her nervousness wasn't obvious. Suddenly, they heard the sound of hooves. A group of centaurs emerged from the trees, their expressions hostile. Umbridge, in her ignorance and arrogance, began to insult the centaurs, calling them half-breeds and threatening them with ministry law. The centaurs, enraged, surrounded them. In the chase that followed, Umbridge was carried off by the centaurs, her screams fading into the distance. Harry and Hermione found themselves alone in the forest. "Brilliant, Hermione!" Harry exclaimed. But what do we do now? Before Hermione could answer, they heard rustling in the bushes. To their amazement, Ron, Ginny, Neville, and Luna emerged, led by Grop, Hagrid's giant half-brother. How did you escape? Harry asked, stunned. Ginny's Babbaji hex, Ron said proudly. Bloody brilliant it was. With the group reunited, Harry insisted they needed to get to London immediately. But how? Hermione asked. We can't apparate, we don't have brooms. Luna, her protuberant eyes shining, pointed to the sky. We can fly on those. Following her gaze, they saw a group of skeletal winged horses emerging from the trees. Thestrals. Despite some hesitation, particularly from those who couldn't see the Thestrals, the group mounted the creatures. With a lurch, they took off into the darkening sky, heading towards London and the Ministry of Magic. As they flew, Harry's scar burned fiercely. He could feel Voldemort's excitement growing. Whatever was happening in the Department of Mysteries, they were running out of time. Hold on, Sirius, Harry muttered into the wind. We're coming. Chapter 34, The Department of Mysteries. The group landed in London as night fell, the streets eerily quiet. They made their way to the visitors' entrance of the Ministry of Magic, squeezing into the telephone box that would take them underground. As they descended into the ministry's atrium, Harry's sense of urgency grew. He led them to the lifts, his heart pounding as they reached level 9. This is it, he whispered as they stepped out into a dark corridor. At the end was a plain black door, the one from his dreams. They entered a circular room with identical doors all around. As soon as the door closed behind them, the walls began to spin, blurring the doors into a solid mass of blue. Which way? Ron asked, looking dizzy. I don't know, Harry admitted, trying to quell his rising panic. They tried several doors, encountering strange and eerie rooms. One filled with brains floating in green liquid, another with a beautiful dancing light at its center. Finally, they found what they were looking for, a vast room filled with towering shelves, each laden with small, dusty glass orbs. This is it, Harry said, his voice hushed. Sirius should be in row 97. They moved through the rows, their footsteps echoing in the silence. But when they reached row 97, it was empty. He should be here, Harry said, confusion and fear battling in his voice. Harry, said Hermione tentatively, I don't think Sirius is here. Before Harry could respond, Ron called out, Harry, this has your name on it. They gathered around a small glass sphere. A label beneath it read, C P T 2 A P U B D, Dark Lord and Harry Potter. Harry reached out and lifted the orb from the shelf. As his fingers closed around it, a drawling voice spoke from behind them. Very good, Potter. Now turn around, nice and slowly, and give that to me. They whirled around. Emerging from the shadows were a dozen Death Eaters, led by the sneering face of Lucius Malfoy. Harry's blood ran cold as he realized the terrible truth. It had all been a trap. Chapter 35, Beyond the Veil. Where's Sirius? Harry demanded, his wand pointed at Lucius Malfoy. Malfoy's lips curled into a cruel smile. The Dark Lord always knows, Potter. You've been tricked into coming here. Now, hand over the prophecy. Harry's mind raced. The orb in his hand was a prophecy? About him and Voldemort? He tightened his grip on it. If you want this, Harry said, you'll have to take it from me. At that moment, Hermione shouted, No! And all 6 of them yelled, Reducto! Shelves exploded. raining glass and wood down upon them. In the chaos, they ran. They split up, Death Eaters in pursuit. Spells flew in every direction. As they darted through the strange rooms of the Department of Mysteries, Harry, Hermione, and Neville found themselves in a room with an ancient stone archway, a tattered black veil hanging from it. Suddenly, more Death Eaters burst in, led by Bellatrix Lestrange, her wild eyes fixed on Harry. "Give us the prophecy, Potter, or watch your friends die," she cackled. Just as the situation seemed hopeless, the door burst open again. Members of the Order of the Phoenix, Sirius, Lupin, Tonks, Moody, and Kingsley stormed in, engaging the Death Eaters in fierce combat. In the midst of the battle, Sirius dueled with Bellatrix near the archway. Harry watched in horror as a jet of red light hit Sirius squarely on the chest. The laughter had not quite died from his face, but his eyes widened in shock. It seemed to take Sirius an age to fall. His body curved in a graceful arc as he sank backward through the rag veil hanging from the arch. "Sirius!" Harry yelled. "Sirius!" But Sirius did not reappear from the other side of the arch. He was gone. Lupin grabbed Harry, holding him back as he tried to run towards the veil. "There's nothing you can do, Harry. Nothing. He's gone." As the reality of what had happened sank in, Harry felt a rage unlike anything he'd ever experienced before. Breaking free from Lupin, he chased after Bellatrix, determined to make her pay for what she'd done. The chase led them back to the atrium where Harry confronted Bellatrix. But before he could act, a high, cold voice spoke. "So, you smashed my prophecy, Potter?" Lord Voldemort had arrived.